I'm Taylor Yocom. I'm a senior at the University of Iowa, and I've been involved with Public Space One, been around here. I've just been around the Iowa City arts community. I've been loving it. My previous work is photography, but I do work a lot with mixed media and collaging and using found materials such as old encyclopedias and old magazines to create some. Sometimes I make a social statement, sometimes it's more personal about my past relationships or what has happened. This piece got started in February 2014 after the taxi cab rapes. A lot of girls in my class were talking about how a taxi cab is usually a safe way to go home, and so the keys or having mace or a rape whistle is kind of like the second line of defense, and then we were showing them to each other and the guys didn't really understand. They were taking it back that we even were thinking about this. So I decided that was like a pretty big gender divide and vulnerability, and I wanted to portray that vulnerability. I thought showing what we had on our keychains was the best way to do that. Some girls had a mace gun, which a lot of articles misrepresented as tasers, and so I never thought of having that. It's the big thing that looks like a block, and also a lot of things were, a lot of the mace was clearly marketed towards women. Like some girls had baby pink or baby blue or like bright pink, and had leopard print. So I think it's pretty interesting how the demographic or how the marketing is played into this. I first thought this work would be put away after this year, but with everything that's gone on, I definitely want to take the opportunity to apply for grants and go to other colleges and talk about the work and take more photographs. I think eventually I want to make a larger book with all of the portraits in it with just the city underneath each photo to show how the demographic breakdown of who carries what and what their trends are in the areas. The media coverage, I think, has been a double-edged sword because I think I'm also losing some of my statement in it because the headlines are sensationalizing these objects as being like something you should do or something, a weapon that women use all the time, when I was seeing my project as like the items on a keychain as being a representation of this vulnerability. And so having mace companies reach out to me and having my work called stupid on gun forums has been pretty shocking. And I think I'm glad the work is out there, but I kind of wish I could clarify what the work was about. And so I feel it's a very cool, very surreal experience.
My name is Hawbaker-Krohn. I am a almost grad student at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. I'm getting my master's in New Arts Journalism beginning in the fall. I have lived in Iowa City since 2009. Just last week moved to Chicago. So in the area I've kind of worked as an organizer and activist. I was really upset by the leaking of Jennifer Lawrence's nude photos online and how they were used as a weapon against her as like a threat, like they're going to threaten this woman with pictures of her own nude body, like it's some kind of gun or like like a way of killing her or something. So I figured I could either write about it or I could do something more confrontational, and so I wanted to do something that involved nudity and kind of brought in that flip of the bird. So that's how this project kind of came into be. I wanted to try something new and do photography. I usually do a lot of writing. I was a contributor to the Radical Notion for a while, and also was heavily involved in the nonfiction program here in Iowa. And I wanted to stretch that out a little bit more. So I decided photography was the next step. So I did it began with digital organizing via Facebook. Social media, I've kind of learned through organizing in the community is a really powerful tool for organizing, getting people together in one spot and sharing ideas, exchanging those kinds of things without necessarily having to have them meet like at a coffee shop to talk really loudly about these ideas. So I put a group together on Facebook and invited all the women I knew who would be into this project into the group, and it was private, it was secret, so the discussions were kind of closely held in a tight little box, and got Lori involved. She volunteered her equipment, time, and talent to the project, and ultimately showed me how to use a camera, which is something I hadn't done beyond like taking a cute selfie on my iPhone, which has been a really just a total trip for me because I grew up wanting to be a screenwriter and thinking very visually, but never actually doing anything like that. So this was kind of a really good way to kind of begin building that muscle. And so anyway, Lori contributed the camera and the space. She has a studio, and I wound up organizing with her like different Sundays where we bring people in for sessions, and I would sort of work as the director. So I'd be like, show me power, show me vulnerability. Okay, so now mash those two things together, and she would take the pictures. She knew she had the technical know-how. I kind of had like the ideological know-how, I guess, and like, okay, we worked really well on that level. The concept was to pose however you felt most nude and powerful at the same time. For some people, that meant being fully clothed and doing something that showed their emotional vulnerability. For me, it meant putting on lipstick and being buck naked and flipping off the camera, because that's a powerful stance for me. It's something that I've kind of grown into. That ability to express anger like that has been something that I haven't always been able to do, but like I'm engaged with now that I'm an adult and kind of a bit more developed in my ideas and sense of self. And then. There are also the restrictions that people have because of their livelihoods. We live in a culture where women can be punished for being nude. And so some of the women were able to talk about that and attest to that in their, role in the project, which I think was a powerful thing too. When we can recognize those limits and are able to articulate them, we're able to change them too. So identifying those limits was an important part of this project. I really would love to include more trans, queer, and people of color in this project. I think it's lacking. That's something that lacks in this project, and I really do think it's good to involve folks of different bodies and different races and different ideas into these projects, because we need visibility. I identify as queer, and there needs to be more queer visibility. But it's really up to what the subject of the photo wants to express. So it's not a body positivity project as a collective. It's not a queer visibility project as a collective. But on an individual level, it could be whatever that subject wants, whatever naked nudity looks like to the individual. So.